This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast.
Cryptocurrency decrypted.
Welcome to episode 43. To kick things off this week, we'll be chatting about two news bits from opposite sides of the anonymity spectrum. On the bad side, one crypto exchange, Melodic, is now requiring users to submit identification information. On the good side, the team behind Dark Wallet has just released another alpha version of their privacy-centric Bitcoin wallet. Then later in the show, we'll discuss a European clearinghouse that recently crashed for several hours, and the Kraken exchange that will soon be trying to replace Mt. Gox in Japan. We've also decided to make this a YMB feedback week. If you have any thoughts on the show, send us a tweet, an email, or a comment on our website, youmeandbtc.com. Stay tuned for more details. Your hosts are Tim Baker, John Stewart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We are so happy to have you back here. I've been forced again to do the intro
Tim,
to this thing.
You have never been forced to do anything. Calm down.
You don't know my life, Dan. You don't know what I've gone
This is
through.
the most passive-aggressive intro I've ever heard in my life.
Anyway, yeah, I'm Tim Baker, and
I'm Daniel Brown.
And I'm John Stewart.
so we wanted to talk about feedback today, and this isn't the best episode to do that on, but
Yeah, this
give us
might
feedback.
be...
Who is the best person at making intro? You can start with that kind of feedback.
I might get my inbox flooded with that was the dumbest intro ever, and I didn't feel like listening to the rest of the show, so I don't know if it was good or bad. Probably pretty bad. That's probably what all my emails are going to say. But no, seriously, guys. Just for fun, and because it's helpful, we thought we would remind everybody to maybe leave us some feedback. There's a number of ways you can get a hold of us. The best way, I would say, is Twitter. If you just have a little bit to say, great show, bad show. Daniel's my favorite host, which is probably true.
Obviously.
If you want to just let us know anything simple and quick, shoot us a tweet, I guess. Our handle is @YouMeAndBTC. Pretty simple, just like you would expect. So if you want to do that, or I guess Tim and John, you both have your personal Twitter accounts. Do you want to share those?
Sure. Mine is JJ_Stewart, STUART, Stewart, not the other kind.
Mine is Baker's Dozen 93 because I'm not too creative.
Yours is more creative than
Actually,
mine.
yeah, that's a pretty good play on words. I mean,
again,
Tim
there's
Baker.
the whole thing of me saying it's not that good, so anyone else who's worse than me looks terrible. But
Anyway, so
just do the stupid show, Daniel.
So yeah, those are your three handles. If you want to tweet us @YouMeandBTC, JJ_Stewart, or BakersDozen93. You can also shoot me an email. I love getting emails from listeners. It happens now and then. My email is daniel@youmeandbtc.com. Feel free to send me anything really that you feel like. I have been getting a number of Bitcoin spam emails recently, which have been kind of creepy. I've sent a few to Tim that are like, you can double your Bitcoins, and I know you don't believe me, but when it works, you're going to have to give me a big fat kiss. No homo. It literally said that. It was kind of weird. And, what was the other? Well,
was it one about saving people from Ebola?
oh yeah, something about Ebola and the terrible English, and it's like, help, need, poor people, and then at the end it was like, please do this because we must help people who die slow, or I don't know.
There's some person out there just like, I know my English is bad, but Daniel seems like a nice guy in the podcast, and maybe he'll send some money, and now he'll just ridicule me and make me feel like even more of an idiot, and I'm going to die by myself with Ebola, but... So good job there.
Anyway, but yeah, really, just send us an email if you want. Daniel@youmeandbtc.com. We're open to anything. Any other ways they should contact us?
No, you're going to somehow force them to send an email, but...
Yeah, just like I forced you at gunpoint probably to start the show.
No,
right?
it wasn't at gunpoint.
Probably.
It was whenever you ask, does anyone want to do it? And everyone's silent for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. Just don't make me sit here.
You're just not comfortable with silence, I guess.
I've gotten comfortable with silence. Most people don't try to talk to me after about 5 minutes. Then they're kind of like, oh,
I don't think that's even true.
It's true sometimes.
Any other ways that people should contact us? I can't think of anything.
Smoke signal.
If someone can
yeah.
find out where Daniel is, send him some mail, because then he'll be creeped out, but we're not going to say where he is.
Well, yeah, and then like John was mentioning earlier, we're also open to smoke signals.
I live on the southwestern side of the river. If you want to send smoke signals. That's actually kind of true.
So yeah, but seriously guys, however you want to contact us, favorite host, favorite episode, least favorite episode, any tips for how we can bring you better content, if you have any content that you want us to put on the show, anything at all really. And also one last important thing I would say is, if there's any chance you'd be open to sponsoring us, we are always looking for sponsors because honestly at the moment we make pretty much nothing. Sometimes we're able to make maybe like $10 an episode, but that hasn't happened in quite a while. So at the moment we're making pretty much nothing. And so if you're up for sponsoring us, let us know. We can help you reach a bunch of listeners, stuff like that. So email us, tweet us, whatever you feel like. And thank you if you do. That'd be awesome. So one of the things we wanted to start with today, we may get to some other stuff, but I wanted to start with an interesting contrast that I saw. There's two different relatively new stories, and one of them is an example of really good anonymity practices, and one of them is an example of a really bad anonymity system. They're both just fairly simple news pieces. There's not a ton to say, but I just thought it was interesting to see the contrast. So I'm going to go ahead and share those. The bad example is actually a story that I wrote for coinfinance.com. The date of the change was October 16th. That's when this kind of went into effect. There's an exchange, Melodic, MELOTIC. It's nothing super special, just a crypto exchange. They don't do any fiat currency. They just have, I think, something like 7 altcoins. They do LTB coin, which is pretty popular, so you've probably heard of the exchange if you listen to Let's Talk Bitcoin. And they also actually have a digital gold token. It's actually backed by gold that is stored in a warehouse, and you can actually redeem this cryptocurrency for gold if you choose to do so. I thought that was pretty cool. But in terms of the exchange, they just started a couple days ago on October 16th. You now have to submit AML KYC information in order to do any exchanges, which, yeah, that's bad in terms of anonymity. Now, I did check, and if you have money in there, you are able to withdraw that money without submitting the information, so that's pretty good. Just because if you think this is stupid and I'm not going to give you my name, date of birth, nationality, passport or ID number, issue date, expiration date, address, and phone number, that's the list of everything they need from you now. If you're upset, you don't want to do any of that crap, you can still get your money out without providing that. And I would recommend that you do so as soon as possible, because you never know, they could change things and all of a sudden require you to turn over your entire person just to get your money back. So anyway, yeah, I thought I'd share that, partly as, like I said, to let you know to get your money out if you need to do that, and also just as an example of something that's not super great for anonymity, because obviously if you give them all that information, they can keep a pretty good track of who you are and how much you trade, and they probably would be willing to hand it over to the authorities just for the sake of saving their own butts. They don't want the authorities to come after them, so I'm sure they would turn over any kind of information like that. Usually, not always. Sometimes there's a good actor out there, but I guess also just one more thing is that they, as far as I could tell, they don't actually check your information. You can kind of just put in whatever you want to at the moment, and I don't think they check it. Now, I'm not sure because I didn't actually submit any information, but just the way it appeared, the way everything was laid out and everything, it didn't seem like they were going to actually verify you yet. Maybe they will in the future, but I guess that's on the plus side. If you really get desperate, if you really have to do an exchange, but you really don't want to submit information, maybe you could submit false information. I'm not going to say on the air that that's a good idea, but if you want to...
I will say on the air it's a good idea.
All right.
Wow.
Well...
We're screwed now.
No, Tim's screwed. I did not say it was a good idea.
We are associated with him. I'm going to go on the record saying that's not a good idea.
Wait, I don't know. I don't know if I would ever claim to be associated with Tim.
He's on the same show as us. So yeah, it's not
You're associated. It doesn't really matter what you do. People associate you with me, or at least you can.
Ew, in that case, Tim, you're not allowed to be on the show anymore.
Okay. That might be a wise decision.
Anyway. So yeah, I guess if you want to take Tim's advice, you could. If you want to take my advice, which is maybe kind of neutral, you could. Or you can follow John's advice. And exactly, that's why I said it's kind of neutral.
But it's not advice then.
Fine,
it's just,
whatever.
You just said you could do this, you could do that.
You know what? Fine.
Did you say at all why they're doing this?
Well, they never did say. They pretty much posted a really short blog article and just said, we now require this information. I did in this article, I speculated, just because this is pretty much what it always is, I speculated it's probably just in order to remain compliant, just because there might be laws somewhere that require them to do this, or that might require them to do this, and they just want to make sure that they're doing as much as they can to remain compliant. They are based in Hong Kong, and I don't really know what the laws are like over there.
Normally they're a little bit more lax, I thought.
That's true.
As far as financial stuff.
Yeah, they are number one on the list of countries with economic freedom, so I read that on a list, and so that's pretty cool, and you're right, they might have some pretty good laws. The
list of data, it's like name, date of birth, nationality, passport, or ID number. Is that just any ID?
Again, like I said, I don't think they officially verify it, so it could probably be anything, but I would guess what they kind of are intending for it to be is, something probably government issued, like a driver's license or something like that, but maybe it doesn't even matter, so.
Yeah, okay.
And then I guess if we're ready, I'll move on to kind of the opposite side of the spectrum, just another simple little news piece. This is from just today, actually, and I guess since we haven't said yet, I will just mention that we are recording on October 20th, and just today, Dark Wallet Alpha version 6 was released. Literally it's not even an article, it's just some release notes, and it's literally probably like 20 or 30 words long. So it's nothing super special, but it's something I wanted to mention just because it's, like I said, a really good thing for anonymity. The things that it lists here as updates: heavy bug fixing, a new logo and sidebar, and a hardened mixer. I don't really have all the details on that stuff, but I would just say that this is awesome. We have supported Dark Wallet for a while on the show, right? And yeah, I guess I would just encourage people to use it, at least when it gets into higher versions. It is still an alpha version, which by definition is probably fairly buggy and might have some problems. So don't use it for too much money or too seriously right now, but keep an eye on it, wait for it, and when it is ready to go, use it, please, because it's designed to improve anonymity, which I guess, if anybody doesn't know, that's what Dark Wallet is. It's a Bitcoin wallet designed to enable and improve anonymity. And yeah, definitely use it when it's ready, when you're ready to use it. If you want to use it now and test it, go for it. Or if you want to wait, you can do that. But so anyway, yeah, I guess there's not, like I said, much more to say about that. Just pretty simple news piece and something we wanted to encourage. So we can probably move on now then, Tim. I think we were going to do the pretty crazy article about a payment system that actually went offline, a fiat payment system. So I guess I'll just let you take it away then, Tim.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome,
I don't know
Tim.
why I'm talking like a news anchor.
I
but-
think that was the nicest thing that we've said all night to each other.
Yeah, because normally it's just you shouting at me about things, but...
Wait, actually, I will say before we move on again, anybody have any thoughts on the anonymity? Like we said, let us know, send us some feedback. If you're going to be using Dark Wallet, let us know. If you think Dark Wallet has problems, let us know. Yeah, just send us some feedback. Same deal on the melodic exchange, KYC, AML crap. Let us know if you think there might actually be some good in that, or if you agree that it's pretty darn annoying. Let us know. If you know any more details maybe about why they did it, about whether or not they actually do verify your information, let us know. At YouMeAndBTC or Daniel at YouMeAndBTC.com are probably your primary places to go. Anyway.
This next story we have is about the article we want to talk about is from the Telegraph. The date is, it's from today. It's from October 20th. They're saying that the governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, is promising a thorough and independent review after their real-time gross settlement payment system, which processes about £277 billion a day, resumes operations after being down for 10 hours. So I found this on the Bitcoin Reddit. The people on there were saying it as you can see this compared to Bitcoin. Just 'cause, it's a central point of failure. So if that goes down, and throughout the article, it talks about people kind of scrambling, like they just left the thing open for another 4 hours. Which is another thing about Bitcoin is that it's not like the market closes at any time, so people are just trading all the time whenever you want. But speaking of the review, the Bank of England governor pledged to discover what had gone wrong and whether officials had responded properly after the enforced closure of the £277 billion a day CHAPS payment system, which affected thousands of house purchases and major interbank money transfers. The bank said it would be carrying out a thorough, independent review of the causes of today's disruption. The review will cover the causes of the incident, the effectiveness of the bank's response, and the lessons learned for future contingency plans. Its findings will be presented to court, which will then publish the full report and the response, it added. So it looks like there's two systems. There's the one I mentioned before, the real-time gross settlement payment system, the RTGS, and then there's the clearinghouse automated payment system, which is CHAPS. And let's see, RTGS processes transactions between banks, and that was taken offline for whatever reason at about 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., part of the bank's overarching real-time gross settlement RTGS, which processes transactions between banks, had been taken offline, leading in turn to the failure of the CHAPS system, which is responsible for high-value payments and housing deals. The two systems, like the payment structure in the UK, I guess these two systems are pretty important, but they're more important for like the really large things and time-sensitive stuff, like house purchases. That was the biggest thing that was affected by this.
Yeah, this is all kind of crazy to me.
Maybe we should try to get, if we have any UK listeners, to maybe help explain this to us.
Yeah, sure, definitely. In terms of feedback, yeah, let us know if you were part of this, if you were affected by it, or if you know more about it. Yeah, sure, like we've been saying. Send us some feedback. But yeah, I really think this is pretty crazy. Even the idea of accomplishing a task like clearing, which this probably is not a perfect explanation, but at least my explanation of it, the way I understand it is that banks kind of keep track of transactions and who sends who money, but they don't actually transfer the money until after a while, because you might have one person sending money from their bank account to another bank account, but then two completely different people might be moving money from the second bank account back to the first bank account, and there's no sense in physically moving money for that purpose. Why not just wait a day or two, see how much cancels out, and transfer less at a time? Stuff like that. That's kind of the idea behind a clearing house, and I'm sure there's way more technical things about it, but they just keep track of moving money and cancel things out when they can, probably, and stuff like that. But see, the thing is, it's hard enough for me to move money through the banking system. Even just today, I needed a fairly large chunk of money from someone, and I didn't want them to do a bank transfer because that would take a few days. So I told them to give me cash, and they did, but they had to go get cash, and then I tried to deposit it at an ATM, and it wasn't taking the money, so I had to go to a different ATM, and once it's in there, then I gotta buy something, and that takes a few days to transfer and stuff like that. It's hard enough for me, one single person with maybe one or two people that I'm trading with. It's hard enough for us to handle our money through this kind of system, but I can't even imagine running this kind of system and handling so many transactions all over the place, going who knows which ways and trying to clear them all. And then you have a problem where something completely goes down. That's got to be problematic. I mean, who knows how far-reaching those problems can be and how many people were affected and how they're going to get back in there and straighten everything out and figure out whose money went where. I don't know. That's got to be quite the task, and I can't even imagine. It just sounds really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why they have these systems set up, is so that it's not all just a bunch of people having to run with it. But then, like this, you have stuff.
But then you have problems, yeah.
Yeah, and no one really knows why. Like I said before, they kept the system open about 4 hours longer than it needed to be, and they're saying that all 142,759 payments submitted to RTGS today, or Monday, before the extended deadline have now been processed. So it looks like everything's gotten through. A lot of places just started trying to use alternative payment methods or would just try to postpone the non-time sensitive payment things just to get through whatever they could, because it seemed like it was just a big jam up, and so they were just trying whatever they could to relieve some of that for later.
Right.
So it doesn't look like there's been a huge amount of stuff that hasn't gone through, but still, just that one person that needed that to go through it, you could have really ruined their day or their life even. So.
Right, and I guess the question that we have to ask before we finish up with this is, do we think any of this is applicable to Bitcoin? Do we think Bitcoin could ever have similar problems? Do you think it could ever go down? Do you think, or at least parts of it? I mean, do you think the internet could ever be affected enough such that maybe significant portions of the network are completely disconnected? Anything like that? Do you think any of that could happen?
I mean, obviously it could happen, but
well,
I think anytime we brought this up before, I've always said the same thing, that if the entire internet is having that much of a problem that I can't send a Bitcoin transaction, I think there's bigger problems than just being able to spend money on socks or really anything.
No, I
mean, it's more important for me to be probably stockpiling food, not buying something off of Amazon, if the internet is that big of a problem, but...
Yeah, I would say that that's basically true, but I still want to know, aside from like the internet completely going down or something, is there anything maybe that we could worry about? Or is it like solid enough? Probably, I don't know.
I was thinking about, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, I was kind of thinking about this, like this article, how with something like that thing that went down, it's like if it goes down, there's like a single entity or like group of people that's kind of responsible for it, and like it's their fault and they have to fix it. I feel like problems that might happen with Bitcoin would probably be like a lot of people made mistakes, and it would be something that a lot of people could probably help fix it.
Yeah, that's true. And if you think about it, again, we're still on the idea of the whole thing going down, and I'm still trying to think if there's anything aside from that. But still, like you said, if something really did go down, even the internet, you think there's so many ways that people can connect through the internet. It could be satellites, it could be like fiber optics, it could be even if you had to use like phone lines or something. If part of it broke, even if it was the part that most people used, people could probably still find other ways to continue with the exact same setup, just on a different transfer method or something like that. So in those terms, yeah, I would say that that's super unlikely for that to cause a problem. And I definitely agree, John, there would be a ton of people out there trying to work at it, get it fixed and stuff like that, which with a system like this banking system, there's probably a team of like 15 or 20 people that are right now working on it. Maybe 30, maybe 50, but with Bitcoin, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of people that have the opportunity and are able to bring up ideas, suggest fixes, and things like that. So that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with anything open source. I don't know, mistakes seem to get figured out and fixed a lot more quickly and a lot more easily.
And we've already even experienced stuff like that. There have been flaws in Bitcoin or just minor problems, and people have found them and just said, hey, this is a problem. Does anybody know how to fix it? And then 10 people come up and say, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And whatever people want to do, that's what they do. And so that's already been happening, and that's amazing. And I guess, like we've been saying, again, feedback. If anybody has any thoughts, if you think anything could go down, if you think it's indestructible or something, whatever you think, let us know. We'd love to hear. You're listening to the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We need your help. First of all, we'd love it if you could check out our website, youmeandbtc.com. There you can find donation addresses for every single article and episode, and we'd love it if you could make use of those. We could also use some fans and followers, so if you're willing, please visit Facebook or Twitter.com/youmeandbtc. Lastly, remember to subscribe to the show. You can do that on iTunes or sign up on our website to receive email updates. Thanks for your support.
One last thing we wanted to cover before we head off and into the sunset and quit this episode. You see, I'm great with transitions here, but
It's all dark here.
it's just gotten dark and cold and
It's like 9 o'clock.
yeah. Well, it's been dark since about 7. Why the fuck are we talking about how light outside? Anyway, Kraken, the Bitcoin exchange that has been operating since September of this year, or was it 2013, Daniel?
Yeah, 2013.
Okay. Is now planning on starting operations in Japan by the end of October and becoming the latest cryptocurrency service to launch there since the collapse of Mt. Gox. I mean, Mt. Gox has left a pretty big vacuum there in Japan.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of, but then at the same time, as long as you don't steal everybody's money, it's not like you don't have a lot that came before you to be like, I need to live up to these standards. It's just don't steal people's stuff.
Yeah, I was definitely being sarcastic. Mt. Gox
Really?
did not have big shoes. Well, actually, I don't know.
They did for a while.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They actually really did like 80% of all trade or something. So, yeah, I guess they were big.
And actually, I looked at a few comments in this article. Daniel, or one of us found, I don't really remember. It's from the Wall Street Journal, Japan, real time. Some of the comments were saying this is great because it's just hard to get money out of Japan in general, and they're hoping that this can help. But, oh yeah, it already says right there, Kraken only started trading in September 2013, but it's one of the main exchanges for euro-denominated transactions. It's been serving customers in Japan via deposits to its accounts overseas in dollars and euros, but international money transfers from Japan banks are subject to high transaction fees And some domestic banks have been rejecting the transfers if they're Bitcoin related. Hence the reason why Kraken's looking to formally launch there. They think they can make a decent amount of money just because there aren't too many other options for people there. Another thing to think about with a new exchange opening up in Japan and letting people actually not have to make foreign deposits and just buy internationally, just regularly, is when we saw all that, the price shooting up, what was it, around last December 2013, a lot of people speculated that it was from the Japanese market.
No, China, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe Asia in general.
Yeah, but I think China was one of the bigger ones now that I think of it. But
that's true.
I mean, it's good just to get another thing in Japan because, I mean, there's always that possibility that it's going to get more people into it. They're going to see a way to move money around, and then hopefully the price goes up for all of us.
Right.
Problem is if that will be enough.
Yeah.
I'd love to see China be a little bit more lax on some of their stuff, but
I'm sure having that option there, another exchange, will be helpful. But this was kind of my idea at first, that it might help the price go up, but I actually might disagree with myself a little bit because, I mean, yeah, it'll be helpful for maybe one or two people, but there's probably already ways that they can do it if they have to, so there probably aren't going to be a ton of people that are going to be all of a sudden like, hey, I can do this now, let me put a ton of money into it. So it could help with, I don't know, a couple people who all of a sudden start buying, but it probably won't be huge. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about that just because there's like a lot of stuff that we could do in our lives that would make things a lot simpler, a lot easier, like a lot of small things that make you healthier, make you feel better. But why don't people do it? It's because they're lazy. And I'm lazy, you're lazy, most of us in the first world are pretty lazy, and we don't want to put too much effort in something. So as soon as you make it easier, and it's not like you have to go through all these ways of not buying it directly yourself and making deposits into foreign bank accounts, that becomes a lot easier and a lot more attractive to even the non-average user is still going to find it. Like the one who's like just above, like the casual Bitcoin user is still going to probably find a lot more attractive whenever it's a lot easier to do, and they don't have to go through all that just to get some Bitcoin or sell theirs.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. I mean, it's a little bit kind of philosophical or something, but I think it's true that, yeah, if something is easier, then it could help a lot of people and kind of tip them over the edge and get them started. So that's definitely possible. But I guess what I was sort of saying earlier is I don't actually know if it really will be easier because there might already be some pretty easy exchanges. I don't actually know. It just could be either way. But if there are already some exchanges there or some easy to use exchanges there, then it wouldn't really be a new easy thing. It would just be another way to go. So I guess that just kind of depends what's already there. And then I guess one thing that's worth mentioning whenever you're talking about exchanges, especially when you're talking about an exchange that is trying to take Mt. Gox's place, I mean, obviously we all know that Mt. Gox fell through, and if you didn't know that, you do now. And I just think it's important to tell people if you're going to use an exchange, make sure you know how it works. Maybe I don't know, but see, even if you know who's running it, I mean, we all know who ran Mt. Gox. So you can do as much research as you want, and they might still fall through. You can trust them as much as you want, and they might still fall through. So that actually gets to what I was trying to say. Look for something provable. I know there's been quite a bit of talk recently about people coming up with ways to cryptographically prove what funds you control. The exchanges have ways now that they can publish and cryptographically prove how much money they have. And if Mt. Gox could have done that, that would have been huge. And if you're going to find an exchange, see if you can find one that you can prove that they're going to keep track of your money and stuff like that. I think that's really important and worth letting people know about. So
So, after all that, if there's anything, any glaring mistakes or problems or anything cool that you heard, make sure you let us know. We have Twitter, emails, comments on the site.
At YumiandBTC or Daniel at YumiandBTC.com. So
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook too.
Yeah, we'd love to hear anything, even if it's horrible. Maybe even especially if it's horrible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we've had people tell us before this isn't great, and so we try and fix it. So yeah, let us know. Thanks for listening to episode 43. Remember to send us that feedback. All of the music in today's show was from Jon Stewart. We'll see you next Thursday.